Good evening. Welcome to our 2026 Law Day Banquet and Barrister's Ball. My name is Jim Kennedy, and I'm the CEO and Dean of New England Law Boston. It's an honor, thank you. It's an honor to share this night with you all. This is a signature event for our law school, something that our community looks forward to all year. This evening is a unique opportunity for students, alumni, faculty, staff, friends, and family to gather and connect. I hope you all make the most of this unique opportunity. I want to extend a few special welcomes. First, my sincerest welcome to our distinguished guests and alumni who honor us with their time and support, not only tonight, but throughout the year. I am truly grateful for the many ways you support New England law. Please know that you hold an invaluable place in our community. I also want to extend a warm welcome to our keynote speaker, United States Attorney for the District of Massachusetts, Leah B. Foley. She will be formally introduced by Vice Chairman Noonan before her keynote address. U.S. Attorney Foley has built an impressive career pursuing justice for the state of Massachusetts and its residents, and we look forward to hearing from her later this evening. Thank you, U.S. Attorney Foley. As our students certainly know, our law school community has one of the most dedicated staff and faculty around, many of whom are here tonight. I want to extend a special welcome to the distinguished members of our emeritus faculty who join us here today. Thank you for sharing this evening and so much of your professional lives with us. And of course, welcome to the New England Law student body. This evening, yes. This evening also features our Barrister's Ball, and I'm sure you all look forward to celebrating with your fellow students and guests. You've worked hard and deserved an incredible celebration, and that's exactly what you're going to get. The ball also marks a shared celebration of Law Day, which the legal community observes annually to promote awareness of our nation's legal system and its role in democratic society. This year's theme is the rule of law and the American dream, guiding us to reflect on what ensures the rights of all people to live their lives as freely as possible and to pursue their dreams. In closing, I'd like to recognize the Dean's Office staff and the Student Bar Association for the enormous effort that went into tonight's event. I appreciate the work of the SBA Social Affairs Committee co-chairs Gabrielle Frugard and Jacob Texera for working with Assistant Dean Jackie Pilgrim and the hard-working staff members who make this event possible. I'm grateful to you all and look forward to an amazing night. Before we begin dinner, I want to take a moment to celebrate our esteemed guests in attendance tonight, many of whom are longtime friends of the law school. We thank them for honoring us by being here tonight. I would first like to ask the Chief Justices of the various courts who are with us here tonight to please stand. Welcome, and thank you all for honoring us with your presence. Now I would like to acknowledge the judges here with us from various courts. If you could all please stand if you're a judge. Thank you all for being here to celebrate with us this evening. And I would especially like to offer a warm welcome to our alumni judges. If you folks could please remain standing, we would appreciate that. Our alumni judges. Now, if we could all offer a warm welcome to our esteemed alum and principal of the law offices of Barry Feinstein and affiliates, Barry Feinstein, who is a special friend of the law school, if you would please stand for us. We are fortunate tonight to have members of New England Law's Board of Trustees in attendance. If our trustees could please stand, let's show them a warm welcome. And finally, I invite our hardworking students and inspiring alumni of New England Law to stand. Welcome. Welcome to you all. Could our students stand, please? Thank you, everyone, and please enjoy your dinner. It is my pleasure to introduce C. Brendan Noonan III, New England Law, Boston, class of 1993, and Vice Chairman of the New England Law Boston Board of Trustees.
Thank you, Dean Kennedy. Good evening. My name is Brendan Noonan, and I am Vice Chairman of the Board of Trustees at New England Law, Boston. I am also a proud alum of the law school class of 1993. I am delighted to be here tonight celebrating Law Day with so many members of the New England Law community. Welcome, and thank you all for being here. The Law Day Banquet has become a treasured tradition at New England Law, bringing together students, faculty, staff, alumni, and business and judicial leaders from Massachusetts and the United States. As a former New England Law student, I can't help but reflect on the outstanding opportunity this event presents to our hard-working current students to share an evening with such prominent and inspiring guests. I am honored to welcome United States Attorney for the District of Massachusetts, Leah B. Foley, Chief Law Enforcement Officer, and our guests are in our great Commonwealth and tonight's keynote speaker. I would also like to welcome U.S. Attorney's Foley guest tonight, C. Fritz Foley, her husband, and Eric McCarthy, New England Law alumnus and U.S. Attorney Foley's paralegal. Thank you for being here. We are delighted to celebrate with you. It is my pleasure to introduce Leah B. Foley, United States Attorney for the District of Massachusetts. No. Not yet. U.S. Attorney Foley has forged an impressive career in Massachusetts, focusing on high-profile cases involving drug trafficking, human trafficking, and public benefits fraud. Based on her admirable experience and commitment to the people of Massachusetts, Nathaniel Mendel, former acting U.S. Attorney for the District of Massachusetts, described her as, quote, a formidable trial lawyer who has dedicated her career to the pursuit of justice. Acting Attorney General James McHenry appointed U.S. Attorney Foley to her current role as United States Attorney for the District of Massachusetts on January 20th, 2025. This came after years of hard work protecting and strengthening our communities. Before devoting her career to public service, U.S. Attorney Foley was an associate at DeGeneva and Tonsing in Washington, D.C., where she represented clients in tax, antitrust, securities fraud, and Federal Election Commission violations cases. From 1998 to 2002, U.S. Attorney Foley served as counsel to the United States Committee on the Judiciary. While in this role, she directly advised Senator Orrin G. Hatch, chairman of the Judiciary Committee, on drug policy and criminal law matters. She traveled internationally to assess American law enforcement initiatives abroad. She also worked with foreign law enforcement and officials with the goal of combating international drug trafficking. U.S. Attorney Foley then began working as a federal prosecutor by serving as an assistant U.S. attorney, first for the District of Columbia and then later for the District of Massachusetts. The Boston Organized Crime and Drug Enforcement Task Force appointed U.S. Attorney Foley its lead attorney in 2013. As lead attorney, she worked directly with other agents in the investigative process, ultimately bringing cases to prosecution. The appointment also brought her new opportunities for mentoring young legal professionals, a role she found satisfying and rewarding. She would later be assigned to the drug unit's deputy chief position, where she continued her caseload while mentoring. In her current role as United States Attorney for the District of Massachusetts, she says her focus on justice and community is her highest priority. In U.S. Attorney Foley's own words, quote, "I'm a prosecutor, not a politician. It's our passion for seeking justice and serving the people that drives her work." Her deep empathy and understanding of the communities she serves play an important role in defining and shaping her mission. She says, quote, "I believe that being a passionate prosecutor makes you a more effective one." New England Law Boston is pleased to award Leah B. Foley, United States Attorney for the District of Massachusetts, an honorary Doctor of Laws degree in recognition of her sustained and impactful efforts in the pursuit of legal justice for our Commonwealth and its citizens. Could I ask U.S. Attorney Foley to join me on the podium to receive her degree? By authority of the Board of Trustees and the Corporation, New England Law Boston confers upon United States Attorney for the District of Massachusetts, Leah B. Foley, the honorary degree of Doctor of Laws with all of the honors, privileges, and responsibilities appertaining thereto. Congratulations.
Thank you.
The floor is yours.
Thank you so much.
Take that for you.
Sorry. So as a federal prosecutor for over 20 years, I was used to standing up in front of a jury and making arguments. Since being the U.S. Attorney, I've somewhat gotten used to appearing before the press and answering their questions. This is literally the first speech I have given to anyone other than an interview. So I was trying to figure out, who do I channel? And the only thing that kept coming back to me was Legally Blonde. I was like, I could wear a blonde wig and try to do it, be a little ill. So my goal was, I know I can come off as a very serious person, and I think I'm actually funny, but that doesn't always come across. So my goal tonight is to make you laugh at least once. And when that time comes, If you don't laugh, I'm just going to prompt you and be like, so I want to thank New England Law for this honor and for allowing me to address you this evening. I also want to recognize Dean Kennedy. I was curious, so people who know me know I'm a Tiger fan, LSU Tigers, all the way. Grew up in Louisiana, going to the games, And so when I saw him tonight in the purple and gold, I was like, oh my gosh, you really are honoring me. And he's like, no, those are our colors. And I was like, well, we can share them. So thank you, the distinguished faculty of New England Law, Chief Judge Casper, who, one thing we share in common, Deputy Chief of the Narcotics Unit, Judge Kelly, who I had the privilege of serving as an assistant U.S. attorney with for years, and God, did we have fun. Members of the Massachusetts State Bench, trustees, distinguished guests, district attorneys, and students and alum. Thank you so much for being here tonight and for sitting here and listening to me. I can assure you that I will adhere to the famous piece of evidence credited to President Roosevelt. Be sincere, be brief, and be seated. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good time. Perfect. All right, we're starting off slow. We're going to get there. I imagine many of you might be wondering how a raging Cajun girl raised along the bayous of southwestern Louisiana ended up in Massachusetts. You can blame that guy right there. Growing up, I never dreamed that I would one day live and raise my family in Massachusetts. I moved here over 20 years ago to join the U.S. Attorney's Office, and I fell in love with it. I assume you also might be wondering how I became the U.S. Attorney, and I'll explain that one in a little bit. I worked as an assistant U.S. attorney through 5 different administrations. Throughout that entire time, the Massachusetts U.S. Attorney's Office has been recognized nationally for its work both in the criminal and civil divisions. When I was appointed U.S. Attorney, there were many things that were racing through my mind. The one that was most important was, God, Leah, don't F this up. Same thought I had when I was writing the speech tonight. I, like so many of you, chose the law because I wanted to do something purposeful and meaningful. My parents were emphatic that they didn't care what career I chose, as long as it was something that I had passion for and allowed me to give back. At the U.S. Attorney's Office, we bring cases that protect our community. We prosecute predators, including distributors of lethal drugs and guns, members of violent organized transnational gangs, and sex traffickers who prey on vulnerable youth and children and exploit them for profit. We hold accountable fraudsters who steal from individuals, companies, and the taxpayers. In my opinion, these are all purposeful and meaningful. But I also recognize that in the legal profession, there are a myriad of jobs you can also achieve both, purpose and meaning. Whether it is representing indigent defendants in criminal cases, working for a nonprofit whose mission is to fight for the rights of others, representing folks who have been injured through the negligence or intent of others, or teaching aspiring law students who will one day be carrying on the good fight on behalf of others. And although everyone loves a good lawyer joke, those same people know who to come to when they need help. When lawyers are sworn to the bar, we take oaths. We swear to uphold the Constitution and to perform our duties as an attorney with honesty, integrity, and civility. I want to focus on those 3 duties. First, honesty.
All lawyers have an ethical duty to be candid with the court, but prosecutors also have ethical duties to protect the rights of defendants. We are required to turn over any evidence that could be helpful to the defense, and we are trusted to do just that. It is a trust that cannot ever be violated. While all of us here have a competitive drive and play to win, there is no win if you are not honest in your dealings. Years ago, a friend of mine was trying to decide, and this is many years ago, trying to decide whether to go to work for a public defender's office or to become a prosecutor. He was passionate about protecting people's liberties, but also wanted to advocate on behalf of victims. A judge he consulted gave him what I believe was very sound advice. He said, as a prosecutor, you actually have more power and authority to protect the rights of defendants, while also advocating for victims. When you're a criminal defense attorney, you represent one client, who is the charged defendant. You have no obligation to anyone but that client. If you know the person is guilty, you have to take it to your grave. On the other hand, a prosecutor has significant discretion in deciding who gets charged, what the charges are, and how the case is resolved. In upholding their oaths, prosecutors are required to protect the constitutional rights of defendants. If you know there is evidence that weakens your case, but is helpful to the defense, you must turn it over. The object of prosecution is not about winning. It is about promoting respect for the rule of law. Integrity. This is one of my favorites. A few months ago, I was talking to a first-year college student who was interested in applying for a summer internship job in a U.S. attorney's office. I was like, that's a big reach for you, first year, undergrad. But I was on the phone with her, and she told me her goal was to attend law school after undergrad, so one day she'd become a federal prosecutor. When I asked her to explain why she wanted to be a federal prosecutor, she replied that she was drawn to prosecution because it aligned with her core values, specifically protecting the community, promoting fairness, and holding individuals accountable while ensuring that justice is administered with integrity. As a prosecutor for over 20 years, I could not have thought of a better answer. She just got an offer from the Eastern District of New York, and she will be interning there this summer. Integrity is an interesting word. One definition is the quality of having strong moral principles that you refuse to change. When a person's inner life and outward actions are aligned, how do you act when no one else is watching? And do you care? This is somewhat analogous to honesty, but you are trusted to do the right thing, even though there is no chance you might get caught doing something wrong. It is being true to your oath. Integrity also means soundness and completeness. Your positions, as you take as a lawyer, need to be structurally sound and complete to be persuasive. Judges require that you understand and acknowledge legal precedents that is antithetical to your argument. You are not allowed to rely only on decisions that are convenient to you or your position. And there will be times that you have to concede facts, put aside your personal opinions, and let things fall where they may. Commitment to the rule of law is just not optional, even when you disagree with a particular law. The first time I addressed my office after being appointed, I assured them of three things. We would continue to investigate and bring cases that warranted federal prosecution, that I would support them and have their backs, and that we would continue to pursue justice with integrity. Finally, civility. I encourage you all to listen to all sides of an argument and be open to reevaluating your position. Don't live your life in an echo chamber. I spent 4 years working as counsel on the Senate Judiciary Committee. You make strong connections on Capitol Hill, and for sure, most times it's easier to seek kinship with folks whose opinions are aligned with your views. But not only is that not interesting, it also fosters division. We had a group of about 10 or 12 staffers who all work for senators on the Judiciary Committee on both sides of the aisle. I'm talking everyone from Senator Ted Kennedy to Jeff Sessions. We all also played on a softball team together and had lots of post-game celebrations, but that's a whole different speech. We were pretty much equally divided across the aisle, but we were close, and we all worked on the same portfolio issues. We were all committed to giving our senators the best advice we could. Support or oppose a bill. Buck your leadership or fall in line. Change your position or hold steady. For over 2 years, this group met for dinner on Sunday nights. It was a night to discuss openly what positions were on a particular bill, debate the merits with our counterparts, and to try to figure out if our positions were right, wrong, or somewhere in between. There were definitely nights when arguments got heated because we were all passionate about our work, but they were never disrespectful. And I remember many times going to my senator after these dinners and saying, I'm not sure we considered this consequence. Maybe this is a better idea. And what about this compromise? I miss those dinners so much. So my advice is, don't ever take advantage of a situation just for the sake of it. When we appear in court, we address each other as brother and sister. Try doing that outside of the courtroom. It's not about winning. It is about doing justice. You have to listen to understand, and you have to be prepared to put forth the best argument. Speaking about listening, in case anyone is still listening and interested in how I became the U.S. Attorney, I will share this. Last January, I got a call on a Saturday. I was at work prepping for a trial. The person, whose name I never got, said they were calling because they heard I was interested in becoming the U.S. Attorney. I honestly thought I was getting pranked. I answered some questions about the office, my background, and the person said, someone's going to contact you to set up an interview. 2 days later, I got another call saying I had just been appointed to be the United States Attorney, and I needed to get sworn in the following day. And I replied, I'm starting a trial tomorrow. And the person I was asked if I still wanted to do the trial. My reply to myself was, are you sure you called the right person? And my actual reply was simply, yes. So the following day, my co-counsel and I picked a jury. After that, the judge broke for lunch. He swore me in, and then I walked back to the other courtroom and gave an opening statement. I can assure you it wasn't the best I had ever given because I had a lot going on in my mind, but it worked out. I could not have started my tenure as U.S. Attorney by letting down my trial partner in particular and the office in general. There were many concerns in January of last year, and I knew that people had high anxiety. But there was absolutely no way I was going to stop being the same person I had been for over 20 years. So, to honor the privilege of standing up on behalf of the United States, to seek justice for all members of our community, to be committed to our ethical obligations, and to maintain the integrity that the public places in us, is why I feel the position of Assistant U.S. Attorney and Federal Prosecutor is among the highest honors that any lawyer can ever achieve. I want to thank New England Law for this honor. I also want to thank my husband, who is in attendance tonight. It's not like he doesn't hear enough from me already. That is definitely a lot. I grew up in this office, and I owe huge debt to my colleagues who taught me how to be a prosecutor. Many of them are here tonight, and it is so special for me to have them here. I also want to acknowledge Eric McCarthy, a New England Law alum who worked as my paralegal at the U.S. Attorney's Office while he obtained his law degree. If every current student is as smart, hardworking, and committed to excellence as Eric is, our world is going to be in very good hands. I also know that some current and former New England Law interns are in attendance tonight. Thank you for working for free. I hope the work was meaningful and interesting, and that the insights that you take away inspire you to always seek justice for all members of our community. Hopefully you will realize someday that there is no better job than being an Assistant United States Attorney, and that you will apply to our office at some point. Thank you to all. I really appreciate this honor, and thank you.